I started here in 1988 under Chief Henry Scott, who was a mentor of mine way before I hired in. My father was a police officer here in the 60s, and my dad and Henry Scott worked together as patrol officers. And Henry Scott would come to our house, and him and my dad would talk about things that happened. And so that kind of set my goal as to being a police officer as I was younger. But in 1988 I started, and it's been one more ride over the last 35 plus years. I started out as a patrol officer. As a patrol officer, I worked every shift. We had day shift, second shift, and third shift. So I worked all three of those shifts. I worked a power shift, which was 6:30 in the afternoon till 2:30 in the morning, which was my favorite shift of all. And then when Rick Chandler became chief of police, I was one of the first FTOs, field training officers. Me, Jeff Bledsoe, and Jerome Holt were the first field training officers for the city. And then shortly after that, I become corporal, one of the supervisors. And then I went to CID, which was Criminal Investigations Division, as a detective. And then I become a sergeant. And then I primarily went to Special Operations as a sergeant, and we developed the Crime Prevention Unit. We wrote the first grant for school resource officers. Sherry Wilson, we had her. And then we did the Explorer program. My favorite thing in the world, though, was the DARE program, the Drug Abuse Resistance Education Program. In 1990, I became a DARE officer. And then in 92, I was selected by the Highway Patrol to become a mentor with the DARE program, and I trained officers across the state. So, which leads me into where I become a captain in Special Operations, which was training, and fleet management and purchasing. And but that's where my background mainly is in training and teaching. And then in 2004, I was selected out of 75 people to become the Parks Director for the City of Dixon. And we started our first Ranger program. It was a law enforcement agency within the city, just like the police department. And so we started that in 2005. So I continued my law enforcement career in parks. And then in 2012, our city administrator, Tom Wakehoff, he passed away on January 4th. And Rydell Wesson, who was our Public Works Director, he took over as the city administrator. And the mayor asked me if I would take Public Works, and he had some ideas that he wanted to do. So in conversation with him, from February to July, we were going to consolidate all the departments, from parks, streets, sanitation, all the maintenance programs too. And so he talked me into doing that, and so I did. I took the job. He wanted me to do it, so I did it. And so we finally got that finished. And then in 2017, Rick Chandler decided he was going to retire from the police department, and Donnie asked me to come back and take over until he could find a chief. And I'd heard that story before, and but I warned him. I said, if you're gonna light a fire that you may not be able to put out, because I did miss it a little bit, and I didn't realize how much I did miss it until I came. And so in May of 2017, I come back, and not much had changed. It was the same pretty much. And so I come back, and then in August, he appointed me as the full-time chief. So it's awesome to know that that there's 3 generations of Lewises that have worked for the police department. And you know, my dad was my biggest role model of all. He's still alive. He's be 91 years old in April. But watching him get ready for work and go to work and come home and tell stories about what he had done, and that was exciting. And before Rick left, it was in April of 2017, my son had applied for the police department. He was employed by the sheriff's office. And Rick asked me if he was ready, and I told him I thought he was. And if you'd asked me a year before that, I'd have told you no. But Rick hired him in April, and the process started. And then in May, Rick decided he was going to leave and retire. So I put Daniel on hold because I didn't want it to look like I was hiring him. And we explained that to the city council. And then in August, we went on and finished the process and let Daniel become a police officer. But it's scary to watch him, because in 36 years, so much has changed in the field of law enforcement. There's just so many attitude changes. The officers have changed. The generation gaps have been filled in, and it's just different. So it's scary in a way. Now, he's been here 6 years, and he's a SRO. He's following in my footsteps. He's a DARE officer. I got a call from the Highway Patrol, I want to say it was about a month ago, and the sergeant over the DARE unit said, "We have selected Daniel Lewis to be a mentor with the DARE program, and we want to know if that's okay." And I'm like, "You probably need to call Seth Lyles and talk to Seth. He's our assistant chief. He's going to be the next chief, we hope." And so that all took place. So, you know, he's excited as well as I am for him to do that. It's just scary. And I'm sure it was scary for my parents when I got on. Restructuring the police department, getting it where we have our divisions are split. I guess my proudest is being able, being able to get the officers the equipment that they need. Not that they want, that they need. You know, we've written grants. Lieutenant Blackwell has done an absolute great job of writing grants and getting grants for us, and we've been able to update our camera systems and our patrol cars and our camera systems on the body cams that the officers wear. Here, I believe in a safety mechanism. Not only do the officers have car cameras when they make a traffic stop, they also have a body camera. If one fails, the likelihood of both failing are near to none. So, you know, that's one of the things I've done when I first come back is upgraded our camera systems. This year, we have upgraded again to a system that is far greater than what we ever anticipated having. The system that we have now, if multiple officers show up on a scene and their cameras are activated, those cameras link together. So it helps not only with us, we don't have to go back and pull 15 different body cams. You can pull one incident. Not only that, though, it's the same system that's used by Dixon County, White Bluff Police Department is going to be using the same system. We're going to be using the same system. The Highway Patrol uses the same system. And all of that technology integrates together to where the DA's office can use it for prosecution. So that's one of my greatest things is the equipment for the officers. We went to a vest that's on the outside of the uniform, not like I used to wear. Now it's on the outside. It's a carrier vest where the equipment's on the outside of the vest and not on the gun belt, so it's carried by the shoulders and not the hips. When you get 58 years old and you've been wearing a gun belt for years, your back tends to give out. That's another thing that we've done here that I think is great. And I know the younger officers don't realize it right now, but when they get my age, they're going to be thankful that we did go to something like that. Cars, we've upgraded our cars. So just the upgrade of the whole department is one of the great things. Diversity in the department. I strive on our communities here. It's not just a male-dominant department. We now have, I think there's 10, it's 8 or 10 female officers that work the road. We have Hispanics that work the road. It's just a well-diverse department. And it's one of the things that I knew we had to do, and I recognized that problem when I come back, and we've worked hard to get that fixed. But the biggest thing of all is I know I can walk out this door on March 1st and know that I have done my best. I was telling somebody the other day that I have never in my whole career, 36 years, 19 and a half as a department head, I have never gone out of my way to intentionally mess somebody up or screw somebody over. And I've always had that person's best interest at heart. I always had to put the city, I had to think about the city, the citizens of the city, but I never went out of my way to mess somebody up. I just wouldn't do it. It's not in me. It's not in me. People need to know our police officers. And, we have a program here called the Citizens Police Academy. And we encourage people to come and be part of that. We take in as 25 people a class. And they're going to start a new class in March. And it allows people to see what a police officer goes through on a daily basis. It's a 10-week program. And it's important not only for the citizens to come and be involved, it's also important for our officers to be involved because they get out here and so many times police officers see the negative part of the city because that's the calls that they get. They're always on a negative call. There's always somebody in need, there's somebody getting hurt, there's somebody in a wreck, but this allows them to be in a positive role with the community itself. Governor Lee did something that I totally agree with, and he implemented through the Post Commission that our officers have to have 4 hours of community service. They go out in the community and work with the community. Last year, he dropped that to 2 hours. We kept it at 4 because we thought it was and we still do, that it's an important part for our people to work hard with the community and be involved. We do everything from doing the fairground stuff, working with Kringle's kids at Christmas, Halloween. Our department sets up a spook house on the front porch. That's unheard of, but we do it, and we work with the community that way. It's just neat. One of the other things that we do that people don't think about is our community relations with the school resource officers. What a bridge. You know, law enforcement's got such a black eye. You know, one bad police officer wrecked the nation. And that's the truth. They give law enforcement officers across this nation a black eye. I've worked 36 years in some type of form of law enforcement. And to see what one officer done to this country is ridiculous. And but that role of school resource officers being back in our school, it shows the positive side of police. You know, those officers in the school system have the most crucial job in the world because they're protecting our children. And but the biggest thing there is it builds the bridge back between the community, because the trust between that child and law enforcement is back. And hopefully, as you know, as I was your DARE officer, when you grow up, you look at law enforcement differently because you've been around them from kindergarten through 12th grade. And so I think it's important for our school resource officers to be there. That's another thing that we've done this year, or since I've been back, is put law enforcement back in our school system. You know, I still have prior students that I had from 1990 till now that come up and talk. I have them, they call me, and we'll talk about, I'll talk them through some things, or they've talked me through some things. And so it really is important, not just for the children, it's important for that officer too. It's a lot better for our officers. We have community leaders all across this city and the county call and talk about our officers and on how polite they are and how nice they are and what they did. And you know, most of our officers here go beyond what they should go, and which is great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but they go beyond that call of duty to help somebody. And I believe deep down inside that it's because of the community involvement. These officers, the men and women here, care about the citizens here, and it's not just that job. It's they go beyond that because they care about the people. One of the things that I have strived to do here is I take the blame. If it happens and it's one of my officers, I'm going to deal with it. And I preach to all of my command staff, do what's right. It may not be the popular thing, but you have to do what's right. And as long as you follow the policies that the city has set, you're going to be okay. I'll take the black eye, but we're going to do what's right. It may not be the most popular thing in the world. And I've had to make some decisions here that really upset law enforcement, but it was the right thing to do. And in the end, we come out on top because we did the right thing. And you know, I'll get beat up every day if it's because we're doing the right thing. And as long as they continue that, they're going to be fine here. And I assure you that the command staff that's here, they believe the same thing. They believe that as long as you do the right thing, you're going to be fine. My word, I hope that everybody realizes that if I give you my word, I follow through. You know, that's all I got to leave anybody is my word. You know, I can't give everybody what they want, but I've always given them what they need. But I just hope that when I leave that I'll be known as that guy that kept my word. You know, I didn't put it in perspective until my boss, Donnie Wise, who is the greatest guy in the world, best boss I ever worked for in my life, brought it out that I was the 21st chief of police. And I was like, wow, I never thought about that. And you know, when I came back as chief, during the Citizens Police Academy, I would talk about our first marshal, Marshal Shealy, who was truly the first marshal, because everybody else before him didn't keep the job long. You know, they either come in, there was some guys that come in and worked one day and they quit. And then there was some guys that come in and worked a couple of months and they quit. Because Dixon was, I mean, you got to think about it. It was in the 1800s. It wasn't just like it is now. It was a pretty rough little town. And Marshal Shealy come in and spent 20 years straightening out the city. And to know that my name is related or in the same line as they are, it's an honor. It's a great honor. You know, John Baggett, which was a friend of my dad's, he was the chief of police. Henry Scott, Steve Gray, who is a personal friend of mine. I love him to death. He's like a brother to me. Rick Chandler, all of those guys are legacy. They're legends here. And to know that I fall in there, it's a great honor, a great honor. I don't know that I deserve it, to be honest with you, but to be spoken in the same sentence as those men that come before me. I'm going to spend time with my wife. That, and I was telling you a while ago that I kind of prepared myself a couple of years ago and I started this little hobby, and everybody laughs at me, but I love fooling with old Ford trucks. And I purchased trucks from 1967s through 1979s, and I either part them out and sell parts on the internet, or I fix them up and sell them. And my problem is I want to keep them all. And my wife says, honey, you can't keep them all. You got to get rid of some of these. But that's what I'm doing. I've got a little shop that I piddle with, and I got this nickname 35 years ago from Danny Norman. He was one of the sergeants on day shift, and he nicknamed me Hound, like the old hound dog. And that nickname has stuck for 35 years. That's what they call me, is Hound. So we were talking when I got my garage built and started working on these old trucks. I told my wife I wanted to, this is what I'm going to do. I said, well, we got to give it a name, and so we named it Hound's Garage. And so I have shop clothes, because I was ruining all my blue jeans working in the garage. So I got me some shop clothes, and she got me some patches for my shirt that says Hound's Garage. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to work on old trucks and spend time at the river and spend time with her. And, last year was a stumbling block. We went through some hard times, and thank God with all the prayers that were lifted that she's good, and we're gonna enjoy ourselves and enjoy my kids and eventually have grandkids. I got grandpuppies right now, but once I can get my feet back down on the ground, I'm on cloud 9 right now. I'm living the dream. My wife's healthy, my family's healthy, the department's going great, and it's just time to go home. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to piddle with old trucks, and we recently we traded our camper and got us another one, and we're going to do some traveling, and I want to go on a cruise. I'm ready to go back. I'm just ready to go relax and sit back. Believe. All you got to do is believe. Believe in this department. Know that the men and women that work here have their interest first. They have to believe. Donnie Wise, like I told you a while ago, he's the best boss I ever worked for in my life. He goes beyond what he should as the mayor. I know there's some people that they don't know Donnie like I do. His heart's as big as this city. And he will not tolerate any of his department heads not treating the citizens in this city the way they should be. And that attitude is here. There's one of the greatest people that's stepping into my shoes, Seth Lyles. He will continue that very same thing. He's not going to tolerate anybody down here mistreating the citizens of the city. I just want the people here to believe in us and believe in this department. It's time for me to go. I know it's time for me to go, and it's time for somebody else to take the reins. This department is in great hands, great hands. I've always believed as a department head that you hire people smarter than you to surround you, and they'll make sure that you're doing what's right. And that's what we've done here. And I assure you that Seth's going to do the same thing. These guys, men and women in this department, are first class, first class. I'd put this department up against any department in the United States. I'm a little bit prejudiced there because, you know, it's not me, it's them. They're what has made this place. I always tell the guys in my command staff, we're only as good as our worst employee. Just like I told you a while ago about the police officer. One officer made one bad decision and wrecked law enforcement across this nation. Here we're only as good as our worst employee. So I think we have some great employees, so we're great, you know. I know I'm ready to go home, and the department's in good hands, and I hope that my 35 years and 6 months and 15 days has gone very well for the city, because I assure you, I didn't do it for the money. I did it because I love this city, and I love the citizens here. You know, I've struggled just like most of our officers do. I worked 3 jobs to make sure my family was fed, but I wasn't going to give up. I wasn't going to give up. And it's a great city to live in, one of the best cities in the state. So, very proud. I'm very proud of this place.